Hey everyone, back with another video, and this time I thought we could go back to actually reviewing protective gear. More precisely, this here Occiput and Cervical Spine Protector by MAC Armour, or basically just back of the head protector. Now before we get to that though, formalities out of the way as per usual. First and foremost, I bought this with my own money, and the maker, MacArmour, was not aware that there was going to be a review. Then the general structure of the video is going to be the same as always, meaning there will be my talking part after this here, just going over why I wanted to have this or wanted to have a look at this, the ordering process, then things I noticed using it in the actual review. And after that there will be pictures, not really stats. There isn't much going on as far as stats go here. It's a one-size-fits-all. And then there will be a clip where you can actually see me using it, and there will be timestamps down in the description so you can jump to any part that you want. So, with that out of the way, well, as I said, it's a back of the head protector. So why did I want to check this out? Why was I interested in getting this? Well, I never really had like a solid plastic piece. My back of the head protector that I had so far was this here by Spes. Just classic, kind of like, it is hard plastic underneath, but there is more fabric around it. And I like this because it's fairly lightweight and it doesn't really get in the way of turning the head, which, you know, if you're standing in saber or small sword pose, is kind of important, because if the back of the head protection goes down too far, it can actually get in the way and kind of bonk against your shoulder and can keep you from turning your head properly. And I kind of saw this and wondered how it would fare in that regard because of that lamellar design here, really, because I thought this might actually be quite nice for, you know, not getting in the way while still giving good protection down your spine. So basically thought about it for a while and then got it. I ordered it directly from MacArmour. They have a nice webpage where it's really just, you know, put it in your basket and then pay. I think I paid by PayPal. And as with the last thing that I bought from them, which was the messer from them, the synthetic messer, really quick turnaround time. So they actually got to me faster than they predicted on the webpage. So that went real smooth and real nice, and everything was fine. So the idea about this is that you basically just wedge it between the mask and the band that holds the mask in. It's a bit fiddly getting it in. It's a one-size-fits-all, as I said, so there aren't different sizes. So it also depends on your mask. Quick note, don't put stuff on the light switch. So as I said, I think it depends on your mask probably a bit on how well it fits, but it basically is supposed to go behind the bands, but in front of that part here. So you kind of have to fiddle it in. It's easier when you can just put it down somewhere. The first time actually getting it in took me a while, but yeah, it's not rocket science, let's say. And it depends a bit. They always show it without an overlay on the webpage, and yeah, I think it's not 100% compatible with every padding that you can put on top of your mask. This one, for example, here doesn't work 100%, but as soon as you put it in, it sits quite smooth and fits your head quite well. One thing that I noticed wearing it actually is that it is a good bit looser, the overall fit of the mask, than with my other protector that I have from Spes this year, because at least the way I put it, this one here just leaves way more room for my head. In the beginning, I honestly thought it was a bit too loose. It felt like my mask would wiggle around on my head, which really isn't good and shouldn't happen. But I wanted to test it anyway, so I kept with it and I got used to it, I would say. I have used it for a while now. I got it mid-May roundabout and have used it just all the time after that until now. Usually I would use things longer before really doing a review, but there's not that much going on here, so I feel like my impressions are quite solid, really. But yeah, as I said, I've been using it since, and I got used to it feeling a bit looser. And even when sparring, fencing freely with people from bayonet to longsword, messer, lightsaber, heavier saber, I never felt that it was bad in any way. So that might just have been not being used to it, just being used to a different fit. When it comes to general protection, they probably don't really show. I have to see if I can show it in pictures, but there are some scuffs here. I got 1 or 2 cuts to the back of the head. It doesn't really happen that often, but I do remember getting 1 to the side of the back of the head. I think there was longsword where that happens more often generally, and I felt it as in there was a contact, but you know, this is a hard shell. This is the same material they make everything out of. I think it's the same material that they make cutting boards of. I really have no idea there, but it is quite sturdy, really. Quite tough, rather. It's not brittle in any way. It's actually quite flexible, but, you know, tough feeling. And that was fine, really. I feel that this gives nice protection, especially since it goes down a bit further. And what I was most interested about, the turning of the head point, that works out really quite well. As soon as you turn your head, the plates really just shift up and then they sit on the side of your shoulder. And I never felt any restriction with this. So as far as that goes, it really accomplishes everything that I thought it would, and it works really, really quite well. Now, one thing I noticed though with that, and especially now because it's summer, it's kind of a wet and colder summer in Germany, but still we had some hot days, and compared to the Spes one I have, I feel like I sweat a good bit more with it. It just gets hotter under my mask, and normally I don't really have to wear any kind of like hat under my mask, so to speak, just like sweatband or anything. But with this here, I felt I would need to, because there is a point in every longer training or fencing session that I noticed with this in, where sweat starts just pouring into my eyes, really. And I don't think that this is because the mask gets heavier with it. Just this one is surprisingly hard to weight, actually, because of the shape, but I think it weighs in at about 400 gram. It's not a heavy piece, really. It doesn't feel heavier than my Spes one, but it's just probably because there is no fabric. It's just pure plastic, so the sweat doesn't really have anywhere to go. Maybe it's just because it encloses more as well, so there's less air circulation, even though I always have padding on my mask as well. I'm not quite sure why it is, but it's a good bit hotter under there. So that is probably something that you want to keep in mind when considering this. Comparing how hot and humid it is where you are, it might get really quite sweaty under your mask, even more so than usual. Also, depending on the other piece that you maybe use with your mask, an overlay to pad the upper side of it, it might not be 100% compatible. Overall, I have to say, I think this is a good product. It basically does everything that I thought it would. It's really quite mobile and still protective, which is nice. but I don't think it is necessarily for me. I prefer the more snug fit I have with my Spes back of the head protector, and I also don't like how hot it gets. But if you're looking for something that is flexible and very protective, then certainly I would say give this a look. I think it's a good product. It's just not necessarily for me in that regard. Still, overall, I would still say, you know, thumbs up. If this is what you're looking for, this kind of like hard protection that goes down a bit further than maybe other things and is still very flexible, then yeah, definitely give this a look. So, cheers.